Baker Mayfield is an extremely polarizing player and a very divisive topic among Browns fans. There's a very wide range of opinions on him, from some fans cementing him as the unquestioned face of the franchise for years to come, all the way to some fans who believe he's a huge liability that is holding the Browns' overall roster talent back. After a disappointing 2021 season that left more questions than answers, the offseason will be an interesting one to say in the least. In this video, I want to answer 3 questions about Baker Mayfield. Firstly, why did he find so much success as a rookie, and conversely, why did he fall flat on his face the next year? Secondly, what did Kevin Stefanski do in 2020 that allowed Mayfield to have the most efficient year of his career, and why did it all come crashing down in 2021? And thirdly, where do the Browns go from here? So let's just get right into this film study. Mayfield came in as a rookie and completely set the league on fire. He established himself as a gunslinger and a quarterback that can keep any play alive. In 2018, on throws outside of the pocket, he had the 5th highest yards per attempt, 6th highest touchdown percentage, and the 3rd highest explosive play rate among all starting quarterbacks. He threw a moderate amount of interceptions, but he also made a lot of plays. As cliche as it sounds, there was no window Mayfield did not try to fit a ball into. Arguably, the best throw of his career was in his rookie year against the Panthers. It's 3rd and 17, and the Browns call a variation of a verticals concept called 989. The play calls for outside releases by the 2 outside receivers and a seam or post route by the slot receiver based on the coverage. Pre-snap, Mayfield sees that the 2 outside corners are playing far off the line of scrimmage, which makes it unlikely that the Browns' outside receivers will win vertically with the corners playing so far deep. So in order for this play to have a chance, Mayfield needs to aggressively throw this seam route downfield into a tight window. Since the middle of the field is open, meaning there is not a safety playing in the middle third, Landry runs a seam route. If there was a safety playing in the middle of third, the middle of the third would be closed, and then Landry would convert his route into a post route. The crazy thing about this play is that the Panthers bracket Landry pretty well. Mayfield just makes a better throw. The throws that Baker Mayfield was making as a rookie, outside of the pocket on the move, in volume, was unheard of. He broke the rookie touchdown pass record in only 13 starts, and he also gave real hope to Browns fans after decades of being the laughingstock of the NFL, which is why the disaster in 2019 was such a huge letdown. Mayfield was a shell of the potential he showed in his rookie season, and to be honest, it wasn't so much that he had regressed as a quarterback. Defenses just had a better understanding of who he was as a player with a year of film on him, and they just keyed in on his weaknesses. In 2018, on traditional dropbacks and obvious passing situations, Mayfield had a league-high interception percentage, a passer rating of 83.2, and a completion percentage of only above 61%, which ranked 25th and 20th in the league respectively. He was a bottom 10 to 15 quarterback when he was in obvious passing situations. The main issue was that Mayfield frequently locked on to his first read as a rookie, and if it wasn't open, he'd either do 2 things. He'd either force it in anyway and get picked, or he'd get antsy in the pocket and get happy feet bailing from clean pockets, instead of just going through the full progression of the play. Here's a perfect example of this against the Chargers in 2018. The Browns are running a quick game concept to the trip side with 2 curl routes and a seam route with a backside sucker concept, which calls for a dig route by the outside receiver and an option route from the running back. In the quick passing game, it's crucial that Mayfield gets through his progressions quickly in order to put the ball into the right spot, since everything happens faster, and being slightly late can have disastrous results. Pre-snap, the Chargers are clearly in some kind of a 2-high coverage, most likely either cover 2 or cover 5, which is also known as cover 2 man. As the play unfolds, it becomes very clear that the Chargers are playing cover 2 due to a couple of key indicators that Mayfield misses. The outside corner to the trip side is shaded outside of number 1, and the slot corner is well inside number 2 since he's playing a hook zone. If this was a man coverage call, the corners would be directly over top of these receivers to give them better leverage to defend the entire route tree. Additionally, the Mike linebacker opens his hips to number 3 since his responsibility is to carry him deep if he would go vertical, which is a staple of cover 2, whereas if he was playing man coverage, he would have been squarely aligned to the receiver. Mayfield, on the other hand, thinks he's got an easy completion to David Njoku against cover 2 man, when in reality, the Chargers are in a zone defense, and the slot corner reads his eyes the entire time and gets an easy interception. If Mayfield had just gone through his pro snap reads and progressed to the backside sucker concept after realizing that the hitch route to Njoku isn't going to work, he would have found a wide open check down as well as a dig route coming open. Instead, Mayfield fails to move off his first read and forces a very bad throw. Defenses in the NFL are going to highlight your weaknesses and take advantage of them until you counter-adjust to them, which is why Mayfield struggled so mightily in 2019. Defenses knew he liked playing off script, out of the pocket, and so they forced him to do the exact opposite. They kept him in the pocket, dropping 7 guys into coverage, minimally blitzing, challenging him to beat them by sorting out coverage disguises and efficiently and effectively moving through his progressions. And Mayfield could not do that. The same problems he ran into 2019 were only made worse in 2019. The out-of-structure plays we saw in 2019 completely fell off the map and vanished. The Browns' explosive pass rate dropped massively, and it wasn't because Mayfield forgot how to throw a football or that he became a conservative passer. Defenses just figured out his weaknesses and he just couldn't adapt. Yes, his offensive line was not great, and no, Freddie Kitchens was not exactly putting him in the best situations to succeed as a coach, but a large part of the collective failure that was the Browns' 2019 season was kind of on Mayfield. So why did Mayfield then rebound heavily in 2020? Kevin Stefanski came into Cleveland with his wide zone scheme that focused on establishing a diverse run game that made life easy on the quarterback by opening up the passing game via the play-action pass. The Browns ran under center play action the 6th most in the NFL, and Mayfield was incredibly efficient on these plays. He had a near 140 passer rating, trailing only Rodgers and Watson, which is obviously great company to be in on the football field, the 4th highest yards per attempt at over 10 yards a pass, and completed 70.4% of his passes, which ranked 7th in the league. Mayfield is a very accurate passer. When his first read is open and everything is clear and performing around him well, Mayfield can make any throw in the book, which is why Stefanski's scheme was perfectly tailored to Baker's skill set. It created easy completions off a strong running game and allowed him to take controlled but aggressive downfield shots against isolated defenders in isolated matchups. One concept the Browns found a lot of success with in 2020 was their flood concept that they ran off their most commonly called run concept, which was counter. It's a very straightforward read for the quarterback that targets an isolated defender, which is the boundary corner. If the boundary corner opens his hips to carry the deep corner route, then Mayfield throws the crossing route. If the corner hesitates and bites on the crossing route, then Mayfield throws it toward the sideline to DPJ away from the safety. And if somehow he gains enough depth to get in the passing lane of the crossing route, then Mayfield just has an easy check down to hit. The run action with the pulling guard draws the linebackers closer to the line of scrimmage, and Mayfield makes the right read and throws a perfect pass. This is what Stefanski did for Mayfield in 2020. He simplified things and allowed him to shine on those play-action bootlegs where his accuracy on the move was the spotlight. The Browns almost went to the AFC Championship game without their only dynamic receiver and a truly awful defense in the first year of Stefanski's tenure. The future was very bright. Stefanski had identified Mayfield's limitations as a pocket passer and was able to highlight Mayfield's strengths as an accurate passer who excelled on play action. The offense was returning all of its starters, including getting back OBJ, a downfield presence that they desperately needed, while the defense got a complete revamp in free agency. And then it all went downhill in 2021. Now, obviously a big part of why Mayfield played so terribly in 2021 was because of his multiple injuries. The guy was playing on one limb at points in the season. But many of the issues that plagued him throughout the season reinforced consistent issues he's had his entire career. Mayfield's struggles to go through full progressions did not go away in 2020. It was just masked by Stefanski, who strayed away from calling 5 and 7 step dropbacks and shotgun. But in 2021, when defenses started to take away the play-action pass and forced Mayfield to be a traditional drop-back passer in obvious passing situations, he floundered. The same exact issues from 2019 came right back to the spotlight in 2021, and it cost them dearly. The Packers game on Christmas was particularly hard to rewatch. On this play from early in the first quarter, the Browns run a very popular two-man route concept in the Shanahan style of offense called a Yankee concept. The read is very simple. If the safety plays the deep over, Mayfield throws to the crosser streaking across the middle of the field. If the safety cuts off the crosser, Mayfield throws the deep over. Baker just makes a terrible decision. Pass interference should have absolutely been called on Rasul Douglas, but that doesn't change the fact that Mayfield blew a 40-yard gain and potentially more if he threw to Rashard Higgins like he was supposed to. By the time he hits the top of his drop, the safety is actively sprinting to the middle of the field, and Donovan Peoples-Jones has absolutely no leverage on the corner. Rashard Higgins, on the other hand, is about 10 yards from the corner guarding him and has no defender in sight. It's a terrible decision regardless of the pass interference, and it was just another example of Mayfield's bad post-snap reads. Another painful example of Mayfield's tunnel vision was from the Patriots game in Week 10. The Patriots defense shows a clear cover 1 cross look pre-snap, while the Browns run a sail concept to the field side. Pre-snap, Mayfield likes David Njoku's out route against man coverage, which makes sense since the slot corner has inside leverage, and if this was a cover 1 cross look, he would have great advantage on this throw. But the Patriots aren't playing one cross, and they rotate into cover 2. Mayfield likes this so much that he immediately locks onto Njoku as he's receiving the snap. He doesn't see the safeties rotating at the last second, and since he thinks he's getting man coverage, but the Pats are actually in zone, he gets intercepted. Notice again how he stares down Njoku even before he gets the ball. If he had glanced at the safety's post-snap rotation, he would have never made that throw to Njoku and could instead go through his progressions and find a different receiver. The last example I want to point out from this year is from the Chargers game from back in October. Stefanski calls a dagger concept out of empty formation against the Chargers, cover 1 rat call. The goal of a dagger concept is to hit the dig route in the space vacated by the seam route, which clears out the safety, and the flat route brings the linebacker closer towards the line of scrimmage. Mayfield needs to aggressively fit this ball into a tight passing window before the rat defender can make a play on it. The play progresses as designed, and Mayfield loads up to throw the ball, but double clutches because he has a defender in his face. Is this a tough anticipatory throw to make? Yes, but is it a throw that good to elite quarterbacks make on a weekly basis, and quarterbacks that expect to make over $35 million a year? Yes. I'm not going to criticize his inaccuracy issues and some of the footwork problems he had this season, since they are independent to 2021 and were not huge issues previously to this season. However, that does not make Mayfield's entire body of work in 2021 irrelevant just because he was injured. His post-snap struggles and inability to read defenses consistently were problems that were only augmented in 2021. So now we come to our last question, which is, where do the Browns go from here? The reality is that Mayfield is a limited quarterback, whether you're his most ardent fan or is his most ardent hater. 4 years of data and film have supported the fact that Mayfield is not a guy you want taking 5-step drops in the gun and making 40-plus throws a game. Maybe he could miraculously improve later in his career, but with the relatively large sample size we have on him now, his inconsistencies winning in the pocket in obvious passing situations are pretty conclusive. He is absolutely capable of being a productive starter in this offense as long as everything else is working around him. The problem is that the NFL is a salary cap league, and soon Mayfield will commend a mega deal that won't allow the Browns to support him with the best offensive line and running back tandem in the game. Mayfield is a guy that you can win with, but not necessarily a guy that you can win because of. The main question that the Browns will need to ask themselves is if they are willing to restart at the quarterback position. Are they willing to throw out the guy that has been the best quarterback they've had in 20 years, even though that doesn't mean a whole lot? Do they think that they can beat Herbert, Allen, Mahomes, Burrow, Jackson, and Lawrence and potentially Zach Wilson if he develops 3 times in a row to get to the Super Bowl with Baker Mayfield as their quarterback on a mega million deal? It's a really difficult question to answer, and it's very easy to say, well, why don't they just draft a Mahomes? When in reality, franchise-altering quarterbacks are really hard to come by. If I was Andrew Berry, I'd probably let him play out his 5th-year option and see how he does post-surgery with a revamped receiving core and go from there. But the last thing I'll say is this. After watching this year's playoffs, I think the Browns are both very close and very far away from being serious contenders in the AFC. They definitely have the talent on paper to stack up with the Bills, Chiefs, and Bengals of the NFL and the AFC. But watching some of the dominant and downright magical quarterback performances makes you also realize that the Browns are far away from going to a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm.